We are seeing Sally strengthen, and that's not completely out of the picture. So just something to keep in mind. Expected to be Cat 2 at landfall, but again, that's only a 1 mile per hour gauge that we're seeing that difference of. So we're continuing to keep an eye on it as it's approaching. But again, that snail pace 2 miles per hour really coming into play with this storm, Michael.
It really is, Jen. I mean, if this was moving at, say, 20 or 30 miles an hour, we would be done with hurricane coverage by lunchtime today. It would be out of our area by noon, and that's just not going to be the case. I mean, by noon, more than likely, it'll probably be, the center will be just to the north and west of Pensacola. Now, what you're looking at on the right-hand side of your screen is a power line down, and that is on County Road 13 between highways 32 and 98 in Baldwin County. Hal has been sort of maneuvering around, spotting road conditions, power outages, and you can see why a power outage is showing up right there with a power line down on the road. There's the graphic at the bottom of your screen shows you where. County Road 13 between highways 32 and 98. So a bad setup there. And the power crews, remember, they're not going to go out and try to repair this stuff until Sally's done, until there's no danger in that area. So that's why we encouraged you when power was running good earlier today to charge up all your devices so you can watch our live stream. Remember, we're broadcasting our coverage on Facebook Live and on our app. So numerous ways to keep watching if you lose television signal or if you lose power. Just make sure you got plenty of juice in your smartphone and your tablet so you can keep watching our coverage. But you can see right there why one of the power outages occurs. And if you run up on one of those things, don't even try to approach it. You turn around immediately, report it to the power company, and then leave that area. Now, we're still watching this 3-hour loop, and let's go to the closer radar imagery, Jennifer, and let's see what we've got right now. The heavy rain bands, and this is a 30-minute loop, are hitting Bon Secour, Pelican Point, Magnolia Springs, Foley. Tyler is right there. Here's Highway 59. Of course, Highway 59 ends at the Hangout. Right beside that, you got the Phoenix All Suites. So, you know, a lot of you have driven down to the beach. You see that big hotel, that big condo that's right by the Hangout. That's the Phoenix All Suites. That's where Tyler and Dacian are. And, you know, they've been getting the brunt of the eye wall. They've been seeing those winds of 105, almost now 110 miles per hour. They're so close to the eye. If they were 10 miles south, they could spot stars in the sky. Things would be looking so much better, but because they're in the eye wall, they're getting the worst conditions across our entire area, and that rain is just still pounding. Think about this. Even if there was no high wind, there were no hurricane force winds, and this was just a calm weather day, and you had rain this heavy, constantly hitting the same spots, you would still have a flash flood emergency on your hands just without the gusty wind threat. But adding that in makes it to where you're just feeling Mother Nature's wrath. So that's a perfect reason why you just can't underestimate even Category 2 hurricanes. And you can't rely too much on the Saffir-Simpson scale to think, well, I'll evacuate if there's a 4, but I'll stay if there's a 2 or less. You have to gauge that on how fast these systems move, what the flood threat is, what the storm surge threat is, because this is a prime example of how a 2 can be deadly, because I'm hoping a lot of people got out of Dodge, because if you underestimate the flooding and you're in a flood-prone zone, I mean, this kind of thing can just swamp your entire home. You just really got to take this threat seriously, and we're going to you know, once the weather improves, you know, gauge exactly what the damage is. Can't do that in this situation, but hopefully within the next few minutes things are going to improve for Tyler, because you can see that eye getting clear, getting closer. So let's gauge again, Jennifer, if we can, from right here, from the Phoenix All Suites down to the eye. I'm thinking that's got to be maybe 5 miles. For gas, let's see, that's 4 miles. So it is getting closer to them. We've started measuring that. They were 9 miles from the eye. Now they're 5 miles from the eye. If this was a fast-moving hurricane, they'd be in it within 2-3 minutes. Unfortunately, it's taken almost an hour for this thing to move 10 miles up the coast. We keep losing electricity. We keep losing lights for some reason. Not sure why, but I know we have a generator here at the station. For some reason, it's not kicking on fully like it should. Maybe it needs more gas. I don't know. Maybe one of our engineers can get it gasoline, and then it will quit. Then it will quit hiccuping and going on and off like that. I don't know. Or maybe we just wanted a disco in here. I'm not sure, but it's not, it's not the appropriate time for all of that. So what we've got here is, as we still continue to watch Sally, we got a 5-mile difference between the base of Highway 59 at the hangout to where the eye is. And the reason why we're focusing on that is because the eye wall, which is the worst of the storm, has been pounding Gulf Shores repeatedly, and where Tyler and Dacian have been located, but they're that close to getting the rain to completely stop, the wind to go calm, and the sky to clear. Once they're in the eye, it's going to be amazing when you look up and you just see stars and the moon, and that's going to be the setup once that thing moves ashore. And the heaviest rain bands are now hitting Bon Secour, Magnolia Springs, Barnwell, Wolf Bay, Orange Beach, Grand Lagoon. So now once you go a little north of Gulf Shores, that is where the worst of the rain is still showing up and wrapping counterclockwise around the center of Sally. And remember, once this moves ashore and starts lifting northeast, yes, conditions will improve for our Alabama counties, but they're still going to be bad for our Florida counties. Pensacola, all of Escambia County, Santa Rosa, Okaloosa. You'll be under the gun probably until early this evening. So we're just going to have to continue to watch this and stick with it. If you're joining us late, here's the track. We can pull that up, Jennifer, from the Hurricane Center office in Miami, kind of let you see how long this thing's going to take to get out of here. And this update came in at the top of the hour. It came in at 2. The maximum sustained winds are at 105 right now, but they're projected to jump to 110 by 7 o'clock today. Then they will drop back to tropical storm force winds. It'll be a weak tropical storm by this evening. The winds will be at about 45 miles an hour. Then it'll be a tropical depression by daybreak tomorrow with maximum sustained winds at 35, and that's where it would be around Ozark, Troy, between Dothan and Montgomery, and moving farther away from us. So as it moves farther away, obviously our weather gets better. Fall air returns for the weekend. Things will be looking great for cleanup and for the waters to recede, because we don't have any major rain chances after we get Sally to leave the area. But the problem is, it's expected to strengthen before it makes landfall, and because a good part of our area will still be east of the center, you're still going to have major problems as far as flooding and storm surge. And really, the threats from Sally will extend as far east as Panama City, likely even over to Tallahassee, where our conditions will be improving throughout the course of the day, since we'll be on the west side the farther Sally gets away from us. So that's the setup that we've got right now. We're approaching 2:30 in the morning. I'm meteorologist Michael White along with meteorologist Jennifer Lambers in the studio. We still got Eric and Sarah with us, and we're just going to be sticking with Hurricane Sally coverage all day. That's going to be the name of the game with this. As far as the future cast, that's something we actually haven't had a chance to show yet, Jennifer. Let's give that a run and see what it's been going with as far as when we'll get Sally out of here. We'll start it now and we'll run the clock forward and just see what happens. So there's the eye. That's 4 o'clock in the morning. We go forward toward 8. Notice still a lot of rain. Then we go to 10, 11, noon. So we get toward 1. And finally at 1, that's when we have only light rain or no rain for Mobile County, our Mississippi counties. Baldwin County will start to dry out, and then the heaviest rain will be in Escambia County, Alabama, Conecuh County, and farther to the east. But that's 1 o'clock this afternoon is when that's projected to happen. So let's keep going, Jennifer. Let's go a little farther in time. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the evening. Almost everybody starts to dry out at that point, and then we keep going. And is that as far as it goes? That's as far as it goes. So by this evening, things will get better, and we'll keep you updated on the new runs of the Futurecast as they come in. Right now, we're going to hand it back across the studio to the news desks and check in to see exactly where she is. I'm told by the control room that's right in front of her apartment complex, which is near the Intercoastal Waterway, and you can just see it's just really rough there. You're looking at wind speeds of around 105, 110 miles per hour, and you can even see flooding, I believe, storm surge showing up right there in front of the building. That's just a really bad situation there, and that rain is blinding. You can't look at that. You can't even make out anything, even a hand in front of the face with rain that intense. That is a really dangerous situation. I mean, That is really bad. We need to get her in a back inside in a safe location, because that is not good. That is blinding rain. I mean, from what we saw a second ago, you couldn't see your hand in front of your face almost. You can barely make out the parking lot paint lines from the rain that was falling so intense. So that is a bad situation, and that is located right about here. So you've got the heavy squall that was hitting Tyler earlier, now lifting north and now impacting Foley, and now impacting Barnwell, Pelican Point, and lifting a little farther to the north around Fairhope, Daphne, the Bayway, and the Causeway. So the situation has deteriorated for those of you in that section of Baldwin County. The question is, will that band of rain reach Mobile? It's unlikely to, since the center is going to be veering more to the north and to the east. But down along the beach, Gulf Shore is finally getting a sigh of relief, because the eye starting to move on shore. Mobile looking a lot better. Let's zoom back in a little bit tighter on this, Jennifer, so we can see exactly what we've got here. So here's the heavy rain band. Here's Pelican Point. Here's Magnolia Springs, here's Foley, and here's where Foley High School is located at Highway 59 and 98. That is where the eye wall is. And it is exactly what was showing up the last several hours along Gulf Shores where we had Tyler, and now they are breathing a sigh of relief as the eye is starting to creep toward them and their rain bands are starting to get less intense. But in this section of Baldwin County, think about this. You have a flash flood emergency, which is beyond a flash flood warning. Flash flood emergency means life-threatening flash flooding is showing up, on top of dealing with wind speeds of 105, 110 miles per hour, and you have storm surge on top of that. And this rain has been nonstop for several hours and is going to keep continuing for the next several hours. Jen, can we pull up the rain totals? I want to see how much we've added to this. And you can see the darker, the purples that are showing up right around Gulf Shores and in Orange Beach. We'll zoom in a little tighter toward that. You can see how the farther northwest you go, the less rain has occurred, and the closer to the coast, the heavier the rain is showing up. So, oh my gosh, 19 inches of rain around Gulf Shores. You're approaching 2 feet of rain. You get to 24 inches, that's 2 feet of rain. Already over a foot of rain in Foley. But flirting with 2 feet once it gets to 24 inches right around Gulf Shores. Then you go farther west, 5 inches of rain in West Mobile around Dawes, about 3.5 near Saraland, over 5.5 in Biola Battery. 12.5 in Foley, almost 19 in Fort Morgan, but over 19 down around Gulf Shores where that eye wall has occurred. So flirting with 20 inches and approaching 2 feet of rain, and the rain's not over yet. It won't be over until we start to get that eye moving ashore and have it veering to the north and east. On a normal day, again, if there was no hurricane and it was just a rain event, this would be a huge story in itself, but you add in 105, 110 mile an hour winds on top of this, and it's just brutal. Jennifer, I think you and I were both kind of surprised by what we saw in that video from Ashland, how blinding that rain was.
It is, and also these rainfall totals really sticking out to me. 19.3 inches in Gulf Shores. When we were showing the Futurecast yesterday, it was showing 20 inches, and we still have hours left of rainfall for Gulf Shores expected. So still expecting more. Also that they are still in that flash flood emergency for this area. So make sure you keep that in mind and stay off the roads. That's the biggest thing right now.
Cannot emphasize that enough. You're spot on with that, Jennifer. You've got to stay off the roads. I hope that a lot of you evacuated before this situation unfolded. And for those of you that didn't and have to ride it out, I just hope you're able to keep watching our coverage and we can keep you updated on what's going on with this major flooding threat. But those are nasty rainfall totals, and that's even assuming there's no storm surge and no wind. But with Hurricane Sally, this is going to go down in history as one of the strongest, not just wind speeds, but one of the nastiest Category 2s we've ever dealt with locally. I'm told by Jennifer we now have a new update on Hurricane Sally. The new stats have come in from the Hurricane Center. It is still a 105 mile per hour Category 2 hurricane, but it's now moving at 3 miles per hour instead of 2. So it is moving a little faster. So it's gone from a walk to a walk. So it's it's basically what it is. It's still strolling, but at least it is going a little faster. The pressure is at 965. I'm trying to remember what the last one was, Jennifer. Was it 968 or 962? Is it
968?
It was 9. So the pressure has dropped. So the pressure is still dropping. We've had Tyler down in Gulf Shores mention that his ears were popping during the last report that we had. That's part of the reason why, is because that pressure, that low pressure associated with Sally, is so deep and continuing to deepen. And that's also part of the reason why the rain bands have gotten so intense with Sally. But it is moving a little faster, but I emphasize the word a little. And what do we got? A new tornado warning. So we only had one the entire evening, and now we've got another one. Now this is for rural Santa Rosa County. So this includes Chumuckla, Allentown. It does not include any of the higher populated spots. But you can see in the outer feeder bands these little small spin-up tornadoes want to make an appearance. And this tornado warning goes until when, Jennifer? How long is this in play for?
That is in play until 3:30 a.m.
3:30. So about a half hour. We won't focus our entire attention on this because you're going to see these things. They're going to be small little spin-up tornadoes. If you get an alert on your phone for a tornado warning, if you're in that polygon, you've got to get to the lowest level of your home, away from doors and windows immediately. But you guys in Santa Rosa County, you're in that northeast quadrant, and in these outer feeder bands, we can see these things spin up quickly. We'll try to spot it on the radar imagery and see where we can find the placement of where this thing is located. We'll go back to the high-res radar and let's go to the high-res radar, Jennifer, and we'll take a closer look. Let's pan to the north, and there's our warning right here where the red box is located. That's the tornado warning. It's likely this cell right here that's causing the problem, and it's going to be veering northwest near Jay, Chumuckla, McDavid, Century. Those of you in those spots, though, are not in the warning. The warning is farther to the south and east. It would be right around here. It's tough to find on the velocity simply because the velocity is so intense. Right there. And Jennifer, what you might want to do is on the velocity output, you may want to switch it to storm relative velocity, because in a hurricane, when you got these 100+ mile-an-hour winds, regular velocity is going to look so bright and colorful because of the high winds. But we may want to flip it and change it. It might make it a little easier to try to spot where the tornado is. On any normal day, this is the output you'd want to see, because you want those bright colors. But in a hurricane, bright colors are going to be everywhere because you have widespread 100-mile-an-hour winds. So that's the situation that we've got, unfortunately, with this. And right there, that darker shade of red, I think that's it. I think this is your possible tornado right here. It's crossing Interstate 10. Thank you, Jennifer. Crossing I-10 and US 90, and that's going to be veering its way to the north and west. It's going to move north of Allentown. It will cross Florida Highway 191, Florida Highway 87, and then near Chumuckla before it fades away. But these things are typically EF0s. They're very small. They're hard to find on radar. We had a heck of a time spotting this on the radar because of how widespread the intense winds are, and they typically don't stay on the ground very long. So it's a situation where if you're watching our coverage and then you get one of those alerts on your phone that a tornado warning is in your area and you're inside the polygon box, go into shelter immediately and then wait for the warning to be canceled or expire. This may not be the last warning that we end up dealing with today. We may end up with several more before the day is over. But as we told you, the tornado threat still pales in comparison to the flood threat and the storm surge threat. That's still going to be our core focus, so to speak. So let's go.
Yeah, also, I just wanted to point out that it is a fast-moving storm, too, moving northwest at 60 miles per hour. And
that's also part of the reason we probably had trouble finding it on radar, because it's moving at 60 miles an hour. It's hard to find. You look for these little blips on the radar imagery to find these things, and in a hurricane setup, they're so difficult to find, and they don't stay on the ground very long. They just wrap around the outer bands of Sally. They're there, and then they're gone. So it's almost one of those situations where whoever draws the short straw could end up dealing with one of these small tornadoes, because they're so random, they're so quick, they drop, and then they're gone. And this warning is in play till 3:30. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep a watchful eye on it, but the focus still has to be on where the eye of Sally is and it moving ashore, which we're going to continue to follow. Now that we're past 3 o'clock, do we have any new stats on Sally from the Hurricane Center?
We do not. We haven't gotten anything else.
Okay. Let's go back
Up on some from Dauphin Island.
We sure are, definitely, Jennifer. And thank you for pointing that out. Had no idea the battery in my microphone had died, but thanks a lot to our director Ryan, came running in here with a couple of double A's. As I was saying, and I don't know how much of it you heard before the microphone went out, but Hal was driving right by the intersection of Champions Way. That's right by Daphne High School. He made that turn to the right. And remember, Daphne was never near the eye, or definitely not on the eastern side of the eye, but look at all the puddling, look at all the tree limbs that have fallen onto the road. That's just an indicator that even folks who are on the western side of the eye were dealing with significant wind threats all night long as a result of Hurricane Sally and numerous power outages. Look at that intersection that Hal's coming up on right now still has no power, and if you find those, you have to treat them as four-way stops. Tons of ponding still all over the road, and he's just going to have to continue to maneuver through that area very slowly. But that is a part of the Gulf Coast that was really in no danger of a direct landfall, yet saw a significant impact. You see that tilted speed limit sign. It's just really going to be a while to get all the water out of here, and these are rainfall totals over the last 48 hours. And all these pinks that you're seeing, these are rainfall totals that are over 1.5 feet whenever you see the color pink. And that's Gulf Shores, almost 20 inches of rain. Pensacola was very close to 2 feet of rain, 19 inches of rain around Milton, and 16 inches of rain around Seminole. And then you see that the numbers start to go back a bit the farther north and west you go. So Mobile County obviously saw a lot less than Baldwin County did. Fairhope, you picked up about 1 foot of rain, a little over 7.5 inches for Daphne. Downtown Mobile, you got over 4 inches. Dauphin Island, about 1 foot of rain, about 6 inches of rain for Biola Battery, and 16.6 up around Molino. The funny thing is, or the ironic thing, over 4 inches of rain in Mobile. On a normal day, that would be the big weather story of the day. We would be coming on and just going on and on about, whoa, 4 inches of rain in Mobile. And today, that's nothing. That's one of the lowest spots. That's the lowest on the map. We've seen so much more than that across these sections that were along and east of the center. And you still see Hal navigating through parts of Daphne. He's moved through a residential neighborhood. Trees down, leaves down, limbs down. And for those of you who have a lot of trees around your home, I know that was a bad situation because all of that wind, we've had numerous reports of trees that were knocked over, caused significant roof damage, car damage. We just hope a lot of you were hunkered down when all this was going on. As we pointed out, if Hurricane Sally was a fast-moving system and it had the same amount of wind speeds, we would not see the level of damage if that was the case, because it's been moving so slowly. Instead of dealing with a quick 100-mile-per-hour wind that would last 2 or 3 hours, instead it lasted 8, 9, 10 hours. And so that's the problem that we've got with this. But these rainfall totals are just significant. Now, as far as what's going on with the latest observation from the Hurricane Center, did we get an 8:30 update, Jennifer?
We did not, no.
We did not. So they'll probably update it again at 9 o'clock. But this was the one that did come in at 8. And the map
to do so folks can learn what it's like all across our viewing area and know maybe some of those problem spots that they need to avoid.
That's right. So we'll keep you updated right here on Fox 10. Back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, you two. We're continuing to watch Hurricane Sally, where it is a Category 1 hurricane. And you look on this 3-hour loop, you can see the well-defined eye just sort of getting, just dying off as it just becoming more widespread rain. That happens. It's an indicator on radar that the system is weakening significantly. And we're about to get the 10 a.m. update coming up very soon. And we'll get the updated track and the intensity guidance as well. The heaviest rain still hitting parts of Santa Rosa County between Jay and Milton. Milton, and that's also where the highest wind threat is located. Anyone north and east of the center is getting the brunt of that. So from Atmore to Century to Bratt to Milton, things are not good in those spots. There's still significant flooding going on, but conditions have gotten much drier to the west. A little light rain in Washington County and Mobile County, but that's about it as far as rainfall. But the winds are still pretty powerful. The north winds are about 40 to 45 miles an hour sustained in those spots, so very breezy. I do know the power company's hard at work trying to restore power to a lot of folks, and for some spots, especially in Baldwin County, it might take a while to get that stuff back up and running, but at least things are slowly improving as Sally begins to work her way to the north and east, which she will continue to do, and the weather will be better for the remainder of the week. Now, as we take a peek at the, let's go ahead and take a look at the stats and see if maybe they've updated it a little early. Sometimes they like to do that. And let's see, it's an 80-mile-an-hour storm moving northeast at 5, so it has been updated. The maximum sustained winds have dropped from 85 to now 80 miles per hour, and it is moving faster. It was moving at 4 miles an hour, and it's now moving northeast at 5. Yes, I agree, Eric. We are all smiles and happy about that. Never thought I would be so happy to see a 5-mile-an-hour movement in a hurricane, but I'm stoked about that. And that means that Hurricane Sally is getting closer and closer to dropping back to tropical storm strength. If we get the sustained winds to go below 75 miles an hour, you'll see it drop back to a tropical storm, which will be wonderful news. But still, it is a Category 1 hurricane, but it is moving a little faster to the northeast at 5. And how does the new updated track look, Jen? Let's take a little peek at that. The maximum sustained winds are expected to be at 50 miles an hour by this evening. That would be a mid-grade tropical storm, so it will continue to lift its way to the north and east. The track generally the same. It'll pass by Jay, and it'll pass by Bruton, and then weaken back to a tropical storm. Then by daybreak tomorrow, it's a tropical depression. The winds drop back to 35 miles an hour, and that's when it's going to be on the Alabama and Georgia state line. I would say that's near, there's Birmingham, Montgomery. That would be near Auburn. So tomorrow morning, the center would be near Auburn, and it would be a tropical depression, but we will see it as a mid-grade tropical storm by the time we move forward into dinner time this evening. 7 o'clock this evening, the maximum sustained winds are expected to be at 50 miles an hour. So it's still a Category 1 hurricane, but it is getting weaker. The wind speeds have gone from 85 miles an hour down to 80. We'll eventually get them back in the 70s and into the 60s. So as it keeps moving over land, the system will get weaker and weaker. It'll stop training in as much water, and things can start calming down. Repair crews can start repairing the damage that we've seen from Sally, and we can end up getting the water levels to recede, especially in those spots that saw significant amounts of storm surge. But that's excellent news regarding Sally. Not perfect news, but better, and we like to see that Sally's getting weaker and starting to move farther and farther away from us just gradually. When we came on the air, the movement was only at 2 miles an hour. It was barely moving at all, and then it went to 3, then to 4, and then to 5. So it is starting to pick up a little bit of speed, and once it moves out of our area, then it's going to start moving much faster as it works its way to the northeast across the east coast of the United States. So this is the watch warning map. Flash flood watches have been dropped for Mobile County, Washington County, Clark County, and our Mississippi counties, meaning that the flash flooding threat is over for anyone west of I-65. That's great news. Flash flood warnings, though, are still active from Baldwin County to Okaloosa County and up to parts of Conecuh County. So flash flooding still an issue in these spots. But if you're west of I-65, plan on a much drier rest of your day. It may still be breezy for a while, but it's definitely going to be a lot drier. And that's the first step in getting a lot of things repaired and getting damage repaired and things of that nature. So as we continue to watch Sally lift to the northeast, we'll keep watching and following what's going to be taking place over the next several hours. We got a new run of the Fox 10 Futurecast in that Jen's going to pull up, and it'll show you when the rain's going to be fully exiting the area. It's already happening in a lot of spots, and it's going to continue to happen in more spots as we go through the day. So here we go. We run the clock forward in time to about lunchtime, and you can see by noon, most of the heavy rain starts lifting north of Milton. That will be by 1 this afternoon. So by 1 this afternoon, most of the heavy rain will be north of Milton and Crestview. And then we continue forward in time, and you'll notice that it keeps shifting out of Escambia County, out of Conecuh County. That'll be happening by about 5 in the evening, and then 6 o'clock, more and more spots end up going dry. We see that trend for the rest of the night, and as the night goes on, the winds will also gradually die down as well, which is going to be very good news for us. In case you missed it, we did put together here are the current sustained winds. These aren't gusts, mind you. These are sustained winds, and they're at 36 miles an hour in Mobile. Significant sustained wind, but better than it was. It was in the 40s in the last hour, and now it's in the mid-30s. Dauphin Island, that's really good news. The wind speed down to 32 miles per hour. Pascagoula, 13 mile an hour north wind. Grove Hill, 18. And unfortunately, the anemometers got knocked out in Pensacola and Gulf Shores. So no wind speeds being reported there. But you know that they were dealing with very significant wind as the eye wall of Hurricane Sally was working its way through. So still very windy, but not as windy as it was. And we'll show you the 7-day outlook and let you get a sneak peek of what's coming this weekend and into next week. I'll tell you right now, it's going to be much better than what we have seen today. So the weather, a disaster today, as you know. Yes. Then tomorrow, it will still be breezy, but nothing like the kind of wind speeds we saw today. Highs will be in the mid-80s, mornings upper 60s, so not July or August type humidity, but generally fairly muggy in the morning, but not bad. Then we go forward in time. We have a few scattered showers for Friday and the weekend, 30 to 40% coverage. But then Sunday night, a front's going to blow through, and look at next week. Next week, the rain chances basically zero. We end up going rain-free. Morning temperatures flirting with the upper 50s. It's been a very long time since we've seen that. And the highs in the afternoon, upper 70s for both Monday and Tuesday. So we are going to be seeing some real nice fall air coming back very, very soon. I'm excited about it. I know a lot of you are as well. We'll keep you updated on Hurricane Sally throughout the rest of the day here on Fox 10. Guys?
All right, so that is looking much better. We need to get through today, and it sounds like maybe